There Are No Jobs in Music is brought to you by nobody. We don't have any sponsors. Back to the show.
Sure.
All right, tell me your
Oh,
most traumatic and musical experience.
oh. Um, mm, honestly,
Because now I'm trying
I'm
to think of mine.
thankful. No, I'm thankful to say probably okay. There was one conductor at Montclair
Mm.
who was just not nice to me. Thanks, babe. Just not nice. James brought me tea.
Hi, James.
Marty says, "Hi, James." You just went like this. Um, but there was a conductor who just was not nice to me
Was it
at
me?
all. Never you.
I was pretty nice to you.
Never you. Yeah, you're always nice to me. I mean,
Yeah.
and if I'm like, even if I fuck anything up, I deserve like a little. He just had it out for me and like
Mm.
nasty about it.
Mm.
Like one rehearsal and in front of everyone. Like we're
Mm.
all adults in college. Told me it sounded horrible.
Mm.
Like aghast that a state university student
Mm.
would, a 19-year-old would like, he thought like we were at Juilliard. And I was like, I'm sorry. Like when you're 19, everything that's said to you is like the worst thing.
I think that's
Now,
true,
if,
yeah. And especially
right,
if you're studying music, you're in music school and all that.
I play the flute. I play the instrument that garners the most attention, like one of the higher pressure ones, like,
Yeah, that's true.
with the hard, like very hard parts. Not saying that other instruments don't have difficult parts, but
You heard
like,
it here, folks. The other instruments are whatever. They don't
no,
matter.
no,
If you're not a flautist, you're not worthy of
no,
anything.
no, but yeah, that was really traumatizing, I guess,
Mm,
because I never had an experience before or since then. So that's good.
that's pretty good.
You're great to play for because
Oh,
like it's just easy and you trust us. So that goes a long ways. Oh, at least you fooled me.
well, the sort of group of like regulars that I've developed now over the years, I definitely can trust to whip stuff up pretty quick, which I'm so glad you're on. I think my
What's
most, I
yours?
think my, I'm trying to think of one, and there might be one, but this is the only one I can think of right now, is that when I conducted in Vienna uh
Excuse me.
the the Vienna City Orchestra, not the Philharmonic. I'm not that good. But it was a city orchestra.
That'd be a
Uh
crazy,
and we were
crazy
doing
fact I didn't know about you.
and we
Like, I
were
didn't
doing
know that.
one of Mozart's Missa Brevi, and there happens to be 10
Nice.
of those,
Okay.
and the orchestra got the parts for the wrong one. So I got up and started waving my silly little arms around and was not hearing. And I was like, I don't know, this was maybe like 12 years ago or something.
Whoa.
So I was still like fairly young,
Yeah.
not like totally confident.
Sure.
I was like, shitting a brick up there.
I would have been.
And then, but
Even now.
because like you're like self doubt, like we always assume, well, the problem is me.
Of every time.
So I'm like, well, okay, what I'm hearing is not, and like they all like some of them start like very similarly, so it wouldn't have been like it's not like they started playing the fucking Verdi Requiem or something like something obviously not that piece,
Right.
but it was like just similar enough that I was like something's wrong, but I don't even know
That
how to
that's like
address it, like
that's
what
the
to even.
worst. That's the worst. As a conductor, I feel like not knowing what the hell's flying at you is
Yeah, yeah.
horrifying.
So eventually I did just stop and I was like, I'm not hearing what I have on my page. And then we sorted it out quickly, and a very nice girl went and ran off some photocopies across the street somewhere. So we
Oh, but
had
it
like,
wasn't during a performance.
oh no. This was my first time in front of them for a rehearsal.
Oh,
But like
okay. That's
the
fair.
choir's there, soloists are there, everybody.
And you're like in Vienna.
Yeah.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah.
Uh, what do you know about Tony, by the way? He has a lot of things. He has a TED Talk that I'm curious about. I probably have listened to it, but I think it's been a while, so I don't
Yeah.
really remember, but it's about trombone choir and how it like teaches us about collaboration with the world and the nice
And
little
obviously there are a ton of university and college higher education music programs and music schools out there. And Tony was the associate director and then the director
Yes,
of the one that you and I were both part of at Montclair State University. So I'm sure
that's
we can
right.
talk a lot about that.
For sure.
And shall we let him in?
Is he waiting?
He's waiting.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
You got it. You got it.
Oh my gosh.
Perfect.
So, yeah, so this is a little bit of a mini reunion because the three of us knew each other from our common ground over at the Cali School of Music at Montclair State University,
Sure is.
where Jackie and I were both students, and then I was on the faculty, and then you were on the faculty, Tony, and then you were the associate director, and then actually became the director of that school, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
And then you left just a couple of years ago,
just a couple months ago.
or just a
I
couple
was
months
gonna
ago,
say,
even.
I
Oh,
think it was pretty recent.
uh-huh. Oh, I thought this happened early. Great.
Technically not even gone yet because right now I'm the special advisor to the new director to help
Oh, very
him
good.
kind of on board just for a little bit. So I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
I have
yeah.
about 60 days left as
On your contract, yeah.
employee of Montclair.
Very
Wow,
cool.
that's so crazy. I feel like that's the end of a huge era.
Well, let's see. I mean, 20 years. We're entering a time right now where a lot of people are not seeing college as being useful at all,
Mm,
ironically. And there were a lot of people in the music field, especially with, how accessible it is to be able to learn how to, be a producer or, create music on your own,
yeah,
get on a streaming service, do all these things. I mean, obviously, if you're not putting out good quality content, you're going to find it to be a problem, but it's kind of all accessible to everybody, even down to how people learn. I mean, YouTube, teaches you a lot as well. And
right.
if you're musical, um, even at the youngest ages, you've seen these students, creating beats, getting on these websites in order to sell them. I don't think that you need to go through a traditional, right, A to Z
Yeah,
formula in order to do, you know, X and Y.
right,
And
right.
that's really interesting, actually. So there's that. My path, has been pretty unique, but also it occurred during some interesting decades, right? I mean,
Yeah,
time
true.
is an interesting thing. So, I was in middle school in the 80s and high school in the late 80s. And, I went to conservatory because I wanted to be a classical trombonist. I also
Right.
played a lot of jazz. And then, from there, luckily, I was, playing professionally a little bit and for some time, a lot of it. And it seemed a little one-dimensional to me, which,
Mm,
was kind of interesting because I mean, I grew up and like that's all I wanted to do. And then when that's all I was doing, and I think it's instrument specific. I mean, trombone, you're doing some really fun stuff, but you're also
yeah.
sitting around a lot and there's a lot of that. And so it was at least too one-dimensional for me.
Mm,
And I fell into teaching
hmm.
and specifically public school teaching. I did not have, a music ed degree. And it was actually during a very interesting time where, I was actually living in Los Angeles and I came back east where I'm from to take on this middle school band directing job. I had no idea what the heck I was
Ah,
doing.
just like
But
Jackie.
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Well, I am now. I
Yeah.
when Tony met me, not not at all. I wanted to be a performer, which I am, but how things change, like you said.
Yeah, and it's, you can always do both, and as I
Mhm.
did as well. But
Right.
during the time, it was very interesting because in New York City, where I started teaching, the mayor at the time, Rudy Giuliani, actually um, had two things going on. One is he developed some legislation called Project Arts. He wanted
Mm.
the arts to be, robust again in the New York City public schools, and he put a lot of money behind that so that principals could actually hire teachers and fully support them with quite a bit of money per child to be able to build these music programs up again from the
Wow,
ashes.
that's great.
That's
You know,
awesome.
and of course, depending on your politics, obviously, you hear what you do about Rudy Giuliani, but in that moment, that was a brilliant move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the second thing was that people like myself didn't have to go through this extended alternate route training to get into the schools as a certified teacher. What actually all I
Right,
needed to
right.
do was get fingerprinted. They threw me in there, and I
Yeah.
had 2 years to get fully certified while I was, kind of baptism by fire learning. And
That for
if I
sure
had to
is.
jump through the hoops, I never would
Yeah.
have done it, and most people wouldn't have. And considering we have a massive music teacher shortage or a massive, shortage in this country right now, which is
Yeah.
actually an existential crisis, for sure. I'm a big proponent of opening the doors like that as well.
Right, right.
But anyway, I went from teaching and continuing to play, and I realized how kind of separate the the performing side of things, the professional world was from the K through 12 education world,
Mm.
going both ways, right? I mean, there were amazing professional musicians I knew that could never get into a classroom and teach, and there were a lot of teachers that really needed to build their musicianship and weren't able to play.
Mm.
And students need both. And I worked with the Department of Education, some cultural institutions like Juilliard, the Weil Institute, other places that were starting these interesting programs. It was called the Academy at the time, and now it's called Ensemble Connect.
Oh
And
yeah.
these really high level musicians coming to train, but also spending time in the schools learning how to teach. So they become these kind of like, you know, holistic 360-degree teachers
Right, right.
and performers. Great program. And I got so passionate about both ends of it that, I knew that I wanted to get involved in that. And during that time, I found when you gave these young students, the resources, and especially where I was, it was a Title I school where a lot of these students could never afford to do anything like this, and you gave them those
Mm.
resources. Wait, Jackie, you came there with me back in the day, didn't you? Did you come to Marine Park, Brooklyn with me, or was it just the
Me,
trombone players?
I might have come.
All right,
It's possible.
I think you'd remember, but
Maybe, but well, I was gonna say though, I mean, as an educator now, this is my sixth year teaching. It's really nice to hear that that is what that experience, instead of it being an absolute dumpster fire of shit, that instead it made you want to do more of it, And I feel like, would you say that was really your entryway into what you do now, or what you ended up
Right.
doing, being a university music director, and now, everything that you've done with Kinhaven? Like, was that really I guess, the launch point for you?
mostly yes. I mean,
Wow.
again, if I didn't have my musical training behind that, and that high, because what I brought. Well, first of all, it was a dumpster fire. Teaching.
Well, and I say that with the
Yeah,
all
of
the love
course.
in the world, because I
Yeah.
love I
It's
love
it's
middle
all a
school
dumpster fire,
band.
but it sounds
Yeah,
like
it's
you
the
were at
best,
least
but
sort of like well supported and
I was well supported. I did not have the tools. My first two
mm.
years were brutal. I mean, the fact that I came back for a second year after just getting ripped apart by a bunch
Mm.
of middle school kids,
It's a
I
testament to
time
you.
yeah,
yeah.
well, time will tell whether it was just I couldn't afford to not do it or I wanted to
Mm,
do it really well. But by my second year, I was invested in trying to figure out how to do this as well as I possibly could. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, and it was the most rewarding thing I've ever done. And
Wow.
I've done. I'm really happy to say I've done a lot in my life, but teaching middle school really was the most rewarding work I've ever done. And
Wow.
It's the
You hear that, Jackie?
best. Yeah, it's I feel that way though. Now with teaching middle school band, it's my second full year teaching band, but sixth year teaching band. But like middle school is where I am and
yeah, I could
it's
see
the
that with you. I
best.
could see that with you. You got to be,
I'm
you got to have a certain.
I'm fucking ruthless. Like today, just really quick, like this is one like and Tony knows because like I'm the same. And so this snare drummer is like fucking up his part as per, but he's my buddy. They're all my people. Like just
Mhm.
fucking play the part. So he's like, and I'm like, we're gonna do it again. And like I was like, and maybe this time, if you chew your gum in time, you'll play it right. And the kids are like, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
well, yeah,
cow. Fucking
to teach middle school, you've got to out middle school them, and clearly you're doing that. But
I am a
also,
middle
I'm,
schooler.
I'm, uh,
Yeah.
I'm, I'm, I'm going to go on a limb and say because of all the f bombs being dropped here, your middle schoolers probably are not going to be watching the podcast or don't have the address to it.
Mm, they might.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're gonna
Jackie's
find
our
it.
potty mouth here.
They're gonna find it. But
I try to get it out of Marty, but yeah, middle school. So that's, I mean, so that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
well, yeah,
amazing
I
that you
mean
had that
that
experience.
yeah, that it changed. It changed my life in a lot of ways. But I think more important, it changed my complete worldview,
Mm.
and it changed my worldview because I did not have. I'm 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 sad to admit that I did not have a high expectation of what children are capable of. And I
Oh.
That's
see that a
fair
lot of
though.
other people didn't. And I had a low expectation of what children who were underserved were capable of. And when we resourced them and when I developed myself as an educator as well as I could, and when I drew upon my musical training and realized that the bar that I set for myself did not change
Mm.
when I set it for the children. And
That's
it was a
right.
it was a matter about it was a matter of me me believing they could do it,
Hmm.
me figuring out how to reach every child and get them to do it, knowing that they had to do the work too, and not making excuses for that is a very humbling experience because when you treat it as when the students don't succeed, it's your fault. That's the kind of way I went about it. It wasn't their
Hmm.
fault. It was my
Hmm.
fault. And how
Hmm.
was I going to, do more in order for them to get that? And their potential actually was limitless. And it
Mm.
changed my worldview. It changed my worldview on music, on education, and on education in general,
I'm
and
sure.
and set me on a path to do everything I can to try to like change, the landscape there. Hey, how did I
I
do
don't
that?
know, but that was cool. It was like very well timed.
All right.
It was
That
like
was
So,
so good.
and yes, so to answer your question, Jackie, yes. I mean, I ended up becoming a district supervisor in New Jersey, and
mm,
all the while kept on playing trombone. As a matter of fact, I got the job as adjunct trombone professor at Montclair while I was teaching middle school. So I'd be there in the middle school in the morning, go to Montclair for the rest of the day.
oh, see, there you go.
And it was,
That's awesome.
I was really obviously hustling, but both sides of my life like that, I needed to, keep up. It was very much, both sides. And, at the
Sure.
time, there was this, there still is a little bit, but the stigma about teaching was pretty huge. So, I was playing on Broadway, I was doing stuff with some different orchestras, and I didn't tell them that I was teaching,
Mm.
because
Interesting.
I didn't want to be seen, as so very silly. But at the
That
time,
was a thing though, and I think in some ways still, which, we can talk more about because I feel like what you have done has completely, well, what we all do now, 2025 is a little different, but we've all sort of smushed those stigmas, I
Yeah,
think,
yeah, I
because
think
Oh
I
well,
so.
for sure. Yeah.
perform and do other stuff, and you can be a conductor and an instrumentalist. You know, you can be an
Yeah.
executive director and a trombone professor, and you can have a TED Talk and be a Grammy nominated um educator and have published books, one of which is in my office. And
Ew.
yeah,
Well,
you
you
can
know,
have all of these
it's been a
things.
really, yeah, it's been a really interesting, life. And, again, if it's been a multi-dimensional life, and like I said, it took that moment for me to say, look, I love playing trombone, and I had a great time, but there was something about it that was one-dimensional. And
Interesting.
while I have all the respect in the world for people who just go all in on that, and I really do, I did for a time. I just knew that I couldn't do that. There was more to be done. I did not know that it was going to be around education. As a matter of fact, there were some times in my life where I thought I might go into a different, profession altogether. I had no idea what that was, but I always left my mind open,
Yeah.
to that. So, I mean, Marty, back to your original, question. I think what the the difference is, and I think this is different in 2025 for young people. I hope it is that this idea of specialization is less of a thing.
Hmm.
Even students, right, who are hardcore playing their instruments, which I love, because honestly, if you don't go all out at that, it affects everything else too,
Hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
how,
Yeah,
how are you going to teach well if you haven't experienced
I say that
immersing
all the
yourself?
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is that as soon as people get into college, if they want to go to college for music, we're constantly talking to them about all of the different things that are out there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because for you, I was really fascinated when I was in college of everybody. It's like, if I don't win a job in an orchestra by the time I'm this age, I'm going to go do something else. And most people did,
Yeah.
and that was the other thing. Fine, it was one dimensional while I was playing, but I got to that point, and it just I couldn't get my mind around the fact that it's like, wow, like, if we really love this, like, why would we abandon it
Yeah.
if one little piece didn't happen? That's throwing all your eggs in one basket, and we all know how small that basket is. So,
Yeah.
Right.
I think really, making that basket as large as you can by acquiring as many skills. I mean, right now, like, when I was in college, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have
Right. Right.
the
Right.
ability to
Instagram.
we now, if you're using it the right way, you have so much information and at your fingertips in order to achieve mastery at something and learn more things. It's pretty extraordinary if you use it the right way.
Yeah.
And
So,
yeah, go ahead.
oh, sorry. Well, I was gonna say, so working in this school, right? You were working in this school, and then what went on from there, or where did you, I guess, where did your path take you next? That maybe did it propel the next step for you to step into university teaching, or like where
Yeah.
did that lead you, the middle school in New York?
Yeah, well, strangely enough, when I got the job in the middle school, I was very afraid that I was going to stop playing. When I first got the job, it was just to make some money while I got
Hmm.
my, feedback playing. But as I started performing more, I love the balance of the teaching and performing. But the one thing that struck me was that again, right, the excellence we achieved in a public school system when we treated music just as much of an essential as math, English, and everything else. That's the culture that we created at the school, and all of the students and the entire school thrived. And when I looked around, I saw that wasn't happening in general. And in
Hmm.
general, I'm a very curious person, and I was curious as to what has caused, our system to be built the way our system is, right? And our public school system is pretty unchanged over the decades,
Yeah.
and amongst that's this meritocracy of subjects. Of course, reading, math, these are unbelievably important, but the arts being at the bottom or non-existent at all, um, was really interesting to me once I found the power that they could have for the entire, child. And so
Right.
I just wanted to, I again, thinking about one dimensional, um, I was so proud of what I was doing in my school, but I wanted to figure out a way to scale this. How could I help other people do what I did? And, that was a multi-tiered a question and answer, because the
Yeah.
fact is that, well, we had to train more teachers. We had to get the teachers to actually, right, understand that raising the bar at that level, the high musicianship, knowing how to break it down for students,
Right.
you know, communicating to all the rest of the teachers and the principals the importance of it, and on and on and on. And all of these schools that needed this help with it. So anyway, I wanted to become a supervisor, because I saw this job, funny enough, in my hometown where I live now, and it was a K through 12 supervisory position. So I thought to myself, okay, I can help teach teachers how to do this and
Yeah.
scale
Right.
this, K through 12. It wasn't as easy, and I kind of missed the classroom, because once you get into this, right, you can do a lot of things, but you can't get in there and teach for everybody.
Right.
And if you haven't really scratched that itch, then, and you're a teacher who really wants to get into the classroom, you might not make a good administrator.
Mm.
Just like if you haven't been a good teacher, you might not make a good administrator.
Right.
But I got really involved in that. All the while, I'm still playing, and I was teaching in Montclair. And then after a few years, I was asked to be the associate, director of the School of Music
Yeah.
at Montclair. And of course, talk about scaling and affecting, the school, and of course the music ed students. Really was very excited about that. All the while, I was teaching in the summer at some place called Kinhaven, which is a summer music festival. And so,
Yeah.
How
by
did
the
you get to Kinhaven? I never knew why.
yeah,
Like how you got, like how did you find it?
well, it found me. I tell people this story a lot because, well, I was right about to graduate on my master's in Manhattan School of Music, and I was asked to play downtown a composer's kind of recital,
Yeah.
and he wrote one piece for like piano, harp, trombone, and I think something else. And he got in touch with me through a friend of a friend and said, "Look, I can't pay you anything, but will you come do this?" And I remember I was not so interested in it. I was making money freelancing at the time, and I was trying to just get my bearings. And luckily, my private instructor's like, "Yeah, you should go do that." Basically, the pianist who was playing with me, she said, I think I teach at this place called Kinhaven this summer. It was a few weeks before the camp started. And she says, I think the trombone player just let people know he can't show up.
Oh, wow.
And she said, I think you'd really like this place. I said, okay. And the next day, the director of the institution called me, asked me if I wanted a job, and the rest is history.
See,
And now,
almost everyone has a story like that, or
yeah,
some version of that story.
yeah,
That's
but that was,
No, I
crazy.
wasn't gonna do this gig. I didn't quite want to, or just you know, we,
no,
we see
do
that
it.
as a running theme with a lot of our guests here.
Of
Hmm.
course,
So
and
take opportunities as they come, because you never know who you're gonna meet. You never know who's gonna hear you. You never
yeah,
know what's gonna come out of it.
no,
You run it now.
I run
That's
it now.
that's like like you are the purpose of this podcast, Tony,
No,
because sorry, the
yeah,
fucking ring light died. Sorry,
It's
guys.
okay. You're
yeah,
plunged
Gotta
into darkness.
and
make me look like a person
I
again.
drove down from Vermont today because Kinhaven has just become a boarding school, for music. So,
Wow.
no, it's really great. So yeah, I mean, it's about right, making sure that you're out and about, so these things come your way, and
Hmm.
also, I mean, yeah, I mean, I actually chuckle, and I know my high school buddies from home, they always give me a bunch of garbage when we're hanging out
I
because
bet.
they've got all the dirt on me. But the
Yeah.
fact is, I run, multi-million dollar institutions. I just adore all of it. I want to be a champion for education, music education. And that was not at all what, I thought I'd be doing. So, how did it happen? I stayed curious. Um, Actually, very curious. One thing I tell people, and they always kind of chuckle about, they're like, "How did you gain the skills?" Right? Because I didn't, I didn't get an MBA.
No.
I've learned how to, do all of this with, budgeting and projecting and everything else through, again, just baptism by fire and being curious. But what I used to do is I used to go and look at job postings.
Mm.
Funny enough, back in the day, it was in the paper, but now online. And I looked at postings that I thought, wow, that's kind of cool. Like, what's that all about? Running something, executive director or something. And then I'd look at the qualifications, and I'd go down and I'd write down all the qualifications that I didn't meet. And I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
okay, well, how am I going to learn how to do that? And I'd go try to learn how to do that. And so, most of the time, well, actually, every single time I got a job, including the one I have now as the head of Kaufman Music Center in New York City.
Yeah, I saw that. That's awesome.
Thanks. I've had a massive bout of imposter syndrome every time I've had a new job.
Yeah.
Every single time. I'm like, what? Who am I to be doing this?
Yeah.
What am I doing?
Same.
I'm way over my head. And I think I may have lied to somebody like that I can do this. And and then I just lean into that feeling now. It never ends. Because we're all I mean, look, you have to show up, you've got to do the work, but
For sure.
are you going to wait until you're ready, which is never going to happen, or are you
Right.
going to say, I have the tools to learn what I don't know,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
here I go.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a big life lesson. And it's a very delicate lesson too, because you can tell people that there are some people where you're going to put them in the position and they're never going to do the work to actually learn it. We all know people like this. We all have bosses like this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't, but
Mm-hmm.
many do.
We
Um,
have.
yeah,
Yeah.
we have.
Yeah.
And, it's a very interesting thing. They have the confidence, but they don't have, the work ethic to truly
Right.
learn it, and
Right.
they
Right.
never
Right.
go do it. And confidence gets you a long way, but it gets you in a lot of trouble if you don't back it up.
Yeah, yeah, you have to walk the walk.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of work to do that. And people don't want to do
Hmm.
that, or they can't do that. I mean, we know.
Yeah.
But you have to, and it's funny because if you are the kind of person who actually, is self-reflective and does that, you have less of a chance of taking those, jumps sometimes and those
Right. Yeah.
risks
Yeah. Yeah.
because you're like, oh my God, I don't know it yet, I can't do it, and you wanna have integrity, and I think it's okay to have integrity and just like, when somebody calls you for a gig and they're like, "Hey, can you play this style of music?" and you have no idea, the answer is yes, I
Yeah.
can,
Of
and then
course.
you
Yeah, of
just get
course.
into the
Yeah.
practice as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And luckily, I had some teachers tell me that. But you can't wait until you're ready. And it goes back to all the technology we have right now. You
Yeah.
can learn how to do something so quick.
Anything.
I used to have to run to the library, right, and check out books. I mean, it's all right
Yeah.
there.
I know.
Yeah, everything's so accessible.
Yeah.
Can we back up just a tiny bit? Talk a little bit about the transition from, K to 12 to higher education in terms of these sort of administrative and supervisory roles. Can you think of some like sort of highlights about what was really different about managing those sorts of spaces?
Well, there's a ton that's different, and let's talk about it. But I always joke there wasn't a lot of difference between teaching college students and teaching middle school students.
Okay, wait. I was just talking to Dr. Axelson, and she said she's like, they're the same.
They're
And
the
well,
same.
I'm an adjunct professor now at CCM, so I'm
Oh,
I'm actually stepping into like that
Hold for applause.
world. Thank you.
awesome. Awesome.
You
Well,
know, it's great, but they're
you
the
know,
same. They're
well,
very, it's so similar. And I was saying, like, in a way, this is not, college students are great. I was one. I was one.
Yeah.
We all were, right? But middle schoolers, they just, at least mine, they ride with me to the death. Like, they do their middle school shit, but at the end of the day, they're like, all right, we
They
gotta,
love you. Yeah.
yeah, they're just like, we gotta just, we're together. Like, we're united, you know? College students are like, but I'm an adult. And you're like,
Mm,
you know, like,
well, middle school students, yeah, they're
they're
that's
loyal.
it's the best age, you know, they're
S-
all in.
So
If you get
good.
them to be all in, they're all in. But
mm,
It's great.
yeah, no, look, teaching is the concepts remain the same, the explanations are different based on the age. I
Right.
hate to be so reductive, but there's a lot
yeah.
of truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, as far as making, the switch from K through 12 to college, there's a lot of difference as far as just um, responsibilities, roles and
Mhm.
responsibilities, knowledge that you have to have about, depending on the level you want to teach. As a professor, um, you're not dealing with all the administrative stuff that I was dealing with.
Sure.
So, of course, it's you've got your teaching that you have to do. We all, kind of know what that's all about. Your scholarly activity, which is, your artistic activity outside of the university,
Hmm.
and, your service to the university. You got to learn how to, operate on academic committees. You need to understand curriculum development
Yeah.
and all of these things. But, what I was doing as an administrator, clearly in a school of 23,000, people, a college, a university of 23,000 in a school, you have to understand how the machinery works, as far as the overarching budget and the budget that were appropriated. I was engaged in fundraising
Mm, right.
to a degree. I had to manage, the people I had to manage, and managing K through 12 staff is challenging in and of its own right. Managing professors who, I mean, the entire university system is built on kind of a shared governance model to a degree.
Yeah. Right.
It's a very different thing. The things that I can't necessarily touch, like, curriculum and curriculum development, galvanizing people around, movement there. So when we created the recording and production arts, degree
Right.
at Montclair, I moved that along, but the professors are the ones who own that work, right?
Right.
So that's a very different way to go about doing things. You know, the the program that I built, that was called the Immersive Residency Program. That was definitely, that came out of my, my imagination, which I
Hmm.
loved, and just kind of operationalizing that and mobilizing staff and faculty, not
Right.
only for buy-in, but for, kind of, taking care of all the moving parts of that. I mean, that was really gratifying work, but it's just very, very different. At the end of the day, managing a team is managing a team.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a people game. Leadership is, very delicate thing. It's never easy.
Mm.
And everybody does it different. I'm by my nature a diplomat. That
I was
happens
gonna
to.
say, like, yeah, what is or what are the qualities that you would say are most important for a director of a program or anyone really in a leadership position? You're saying democracy.
Well, okay, well, the first thing is, you don't need a title in order to be a leader.
Mhm.
You're both leading things. We actually probably all have certain leadership roles wherever we are.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So I think rule number one is, you can't be who you're not. I actually learned that through teaching. The teacher I took over for when I started teaching was had an iron fist, and the kids were like
Mm,
perfect for them, but they were terrified. And it was a
okay.
very different way of managing
Sure.
people. And when I didn't know what I didn't know, I mean, like I said, the kids ate me alive because I didn't have my classroom management down. And I tried to be that person for a little bit, and it's not who I am, right? And
Yeah.
people see right through that.
Right.
And
Right.
so I think that in all types of leadership, regardless of what you're doing, you have to be your true self. And I believe, we all have to make adjustments, and we all, have to learn about our weaknesses and address our weaknesses. But
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
have to be, don't be who you're not, right? And be really honest with your weaknesses, address them,
Hmm.
and be honest with your strengths and use them, right?
Yeah.
So, and whatever you have to do that, like therapy helps. I've had, I've had, I've had therapy, I've had leadership coaches, I've had a
Mhm.
lot of people who I have brought into my world
Yeah. To help.
help
Right.
me to help me do this. I still have an executive coach.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
run I run everything by her, and not that I always follow her direction, but
Yeah. Yeah.
you got to throw the pieces. Anyway, I digress.
No, no,
Um,
it's great.
Yeah, no,
so
and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just like if you say something and I think it can lead us somewhere else, I might just like
yeah,
dive in, that's what
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what Marty and I do. It's just we're having our this whole point of our podcast is to have a fun conversation with someone and hopefully someone listens to it and is inspired and not afraid to,
Yeah.
I guess, dive into this career. I mean, it's not for someone weak-minded.
no, but I mean, even the concepts we're talking about right now is for any career,
For sure.
Yeah.
and so, but yeah, I mean, no, it's definitely not for the weak. My skin is much thicker now than it was 10 years ago, but
Yeah.
I think what was the other, oh, so as far as, and then, so there are different leadership styles. There are so many of them. You can kind of read up on them. I believe in something called transformational leadership, which really is predicated on the idea that everybody in your orbit actually, you assume that they want to do their best work, right? That
Mm.
they need to be motivated, they need to get behind something in order to do their best work.
Yeah.
And it's my job to find what that unifying theme is, build a team, and keep people motivated to do that.
Right.
Mm.
There are some other people who believe, again, you have to lead through fear, or it's money. You get a raise if you do good. You fired if you do bad.
Yeah.
I feel
So
like those aren't sustainable though, always.
most of the time, yeah, I tend to agree.
Hmm.
I I I only know what works for me. But the other thing is that even though it's not fun and it sucks, I'm not afraid to address the problems where they are, and most of that leads to very difficult conversations, very uncomfortable conversations. I've been doing this for a very long time, and it does not ever get easier. A
Hmm.
difficult conversation has to happen, and I've got to go do it, and I have the
Hmm.
same pit in my stomach before I do it,
Of
but I'm going to
course.
do it. But I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're gonna have it, and I think that's really important to do. I think if you're leading right, you're doing a lot of listening, and when you do a lot of listening, you're doing a lot of absorbing.
Yeah.
And so, I actually am like an empath by nature, and when you absorb, like, you take on a lot, and you have to find ways to, offload that too.
Hmm.
Other people just don't want to be bothered, and they're like, this is what we're going to do. But, I really believe that people make the organization work. People make the world go round. Trust me, I don't think everybody that's worked for me has loved me. That's but I hope that they've understood me, and they've respected that even when I've made decisions that they don't like.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
that I've done it in order to move the organization forward. Most people, but
Fair enough.
you know, um, so that's what's worked for me. But it's really understanding people, getting to know people,
Yeah.
opening yourself up to understanding that, and quite frankly, like eating the humble pie along the way. I mean, I've made so many mistakes. I made so many mistakes, but I think for all the mistakes I've made, I've always apologized. Even in leadership, I've always apologized. Just like, look, I screwed up, and this is why I did this, and here's how we're going. And so I don't think you can really kind of do anything great unless you fail pretty hard.
For sure.
And
Yeah.
I have some huge wins, and they all were born out of huge failures.
Yeah. Well,
And
speaking
again,
of those, I mean, with
Yeah.
all of these sort of, great leadership opportunities that you've had at really high levels at this point in your career, and hopefully, the best is even yet to come. Can you highlight some of the things that you're most proud of? I mean, you mentioned the immersive residency program, which has been fantastic. Are there other things like that you feel especially proud of that you feel like all of your experience um, and skills kind of got you to the point where you could execute something that you were really proud of?
sure. Well, I mean, look, I'm going to go back to the middle school. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
we built a program from nothing,
yeah.
and we're a real exemplar in New York City with one of the most diverse schools, culturally, socioeconomically, etc. And just really raised the bar for
Mhm.
everybody, and changed the entire culture of the entire school through the music program. And
Wow.
then, that was my goal wherever I went. When I was a K through 12 supervisor here, we changed the culture. I went, we changed the music programs here. They were 2 days a week. They went to 5 days a week, and we really kind of built out, these programs.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
At the Cali school, I think it was more about, just kind of, I mean, there's a long way to go, but I think from when I started, I wanted to put us on the national stage. I
Hmm.
wanted to be a real destination place, and
Hmm.
for students, for faculty, for these great artists. So yeah, of course, the immersive residency program, this Pathways program that really lifted up a lot of underserved students. Again, changing the culture there at Kinhaven, went from a small mom and pop nonprofit that's just this amazing place to become well, now, not only are we a huge summer festival, we're the first semester uh, music boarding school in the nation. And so
Wow.
I think it's really kind of like look at an organization and make it the best version of itself. And
Mm,
like
I like that.
what does that look like? Do you have, and I would say the same thing when I was training, middle school teachers, right? Or any teachers, but I'd always say, okay, you're in your classroom. What do you envision to be the best version of your program? Like tell me what that looks like from nuts to bolts. I like from the way the
The
students walk,
dream.
yeah,
Yeah.
from the way the students walk into a room to this moment to how they sound to the repertoire to where you go. Tell me everything. And most people looked at me like,
I don't
and
know.
I'm like, if you don't have a vision
Right.
for forget about your program for your life. By the way, it could change on a dime, right? I mean,
Mhm.
I had a vision for my life, and it ain't wasn't this. But if you don't have a vision, a strong one to work off of on what you want to see around you, then you're operating from a deficit. And
Yeah.
I think that no matter what your career ambition is, like think about that. Understand you can change it. You're not locked in. You're never locked in. But what is your vision? Well, how about your vision for this week, right? If you don't know beyond that, there's
Yeah.
always a way. But you have to see it. I don't necessarily believe in manifesting, but I almost do. You
I
know,
would say that sounds having a vision, I think is manifesting, but
Yeah.
it's
Well, it's
it's
the
real.
first step of the path to manifesting.
Yeah, I mean it's real though, but like you said, people have to you have to put in a high level of work and have resources, but also if you don't have resources, you find resources or you find a way to find resources. I mean, would that be the next step, I guess, for our listeners? And, I'm curious, and I'm sure Marty is too. I mean, you need a vision, but then what's after that?
Create a whole lot of creativity, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, I want to acknowledge that there are, people out there, there's situations out there that are really tough and untenable. And, there are places where you have, a lot of barriers. I mean, there's no
Hmm.
doubt.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so I want to recognize that. But in general, you know, um, I hear far more excuses
Mm.
in this world than I do people who are just going and doing things.
So
There's
many.
there is almost always a way. There's almost always a way. And there's always a way to make an excuse as to why this something couldn't happen,
Right.
especially in the school system. Trust me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And but I've seen it. I've navigated it. And luckily in my world now, in my worlds and the places I run, people like that don't work for me.
Mm.
They just don't. And we have people, and sometimes you have to lead the way and show them, like, how to do. But I will say at Montclair, people knew that I was going to get stuff done.
Yeah,
I,
for
and,
sure.
and it was really not easy all the time. It was really not easy. I had to move heaven and earth sometimes, but there was
Yeah.
always a way. We were always going to get, and if somebody heard me say I can't do it, they knew that I went to the absolute mat, and I would,
Wow.
Lengths. And I have to
so
say, like Montclair now, now I've been back a few times. I did symposium last year and I played a recital of like a former student from Mount Olive,
Oh,
which was
cool.
really nice. So there's ways that I've connected back to the school and it's it's totally different than from the time I was there. It's just
oh,
in so many ways I think it's just the whole system is operating at a much higher level. At least I feel that way. The culture is, I mean, we had a really good time.
yeah, we
We
had
had
a good
a
time. No, no, no.
we had a really good time. Let's not take away from my
Yeah,
era
yeah,
there.
yeah.
That was a really fucking good time. But and we, there were really great musicians that went through, but
Yeah.
the whole vibe of the place has just, and I said it to Macaulay recently. I was like, dude, does no one party anymore? And he goes, not really. I was like,
No, yeah.
that's so
No,
crazy.
I know.
But I mean, I'm sure people do whatever in their own way, but I mean, we were crazy.
Yeah, you were crazy.
That wind
You
symphony was
specifically, Jimmy.
nuts. Yeah,
Yeah.
me and my friends, we were insane. But I mean, we also all got our shit done. But it's just, I think overall, and people want to go there. I mean, I've sent students there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's great. And, it's just you have to you do have to put in a level of work, I would say, in anything in order to get what you want. But I think, back to your experience in teaching, I feel like if you can get a group of middle schoolers to play together and to all be engaged in what you're doing, like that skill set alone,
Then
You
you
could
can
do
do
anything.
anything.
Yeah.
I imagine has followed you. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
so I guess, how do you feel that you as well, you've evolved, you feel, you've stated a few times in this interview already that you feel you've evolved and changed, you didn't think that you'd be where you are now. But do you think this is your, I guess do you think this is your path now? Do you love directing a program? Is there something
Oh
maybe
yeah, is there something you
beyond
haven't done yet that
this,
you're
or
dying to
right,
do?
some, yeah, like a next, something that's next for you?
No, I'm kind of just I'm really just riding the wave of my own
Yeah.
life. You know, I
And you've just started two new big jobs, so that's probably going to be on
yeah,
your mind for a good long while now.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
I feel but it's all around the same thing. I feel a profound sense of responsibility
Mm.
to, you know, look, for I see so many programs, especially music programs, dying.
Mm.
You know, you see, I mean, just most recently, you saw Eastern Music Festival, this 62-year-old
Mhm.
summer music festival, you know, fall.
EMF.
You see a lot of these school programs folding. I feel just this profound sense of responsibility to use the skills that I've acquired to put music and music education on the national stage. And I think the timing's really interesting, you know, like people are not feeling so confident about public school education anymore. I mean, mark
Yeah.
my words, you know, AI is going to, I know everybody says, oh, it's going to change. I think it's going to profoundly change how and what we learn in schools, and nobody's
Yeah.
ready for it. I think it's going to happen in the next 2 years. I think everybody's going to have, and I think music and the arts
Yeah.
are part of the solution here, a huge part of the
I
solution, because when
agree.
you look at, you know, brain research that's finally being done, and they see what actual, you know, music does to the brain
Yeah.
and what AI does to the brain as far as, you know, no synapses firing. There's, we're going to go through a huge moment here, and I just feel responsible to put music front and center when we talk about developing, you know, young humans. And
Yeah.
so that drives me. I mean, it really drives me every single day. And, you know, I know that, you know, for the rest of my life, I will be, you know, focusing a lot on that. It may take different forms. I may be doing, but that's really the crux of it, the intersection of music and education, brain research,
Yeah.
young humans. You know, that's pretty much why, you know, I'm on Earth right now, and that's cool.
Well, that's awesome.
That's amazing. How do you, um, so I guess, how do you plan to do that? You know, what do you think society needs in order for us to propel forward and really take on a renaissance of sorts? You know, I feel the same way, by the way. Like, I agree, and that's why I keep doing it. You know, people are like, you teach public school band. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
and I love it.
Yeah, well, it's most well, you know, I think a lot of things need to happen. Clearly, I can't do it on my own. Although, you know, so I guess a teaser into how I'm going about it is at Kaufman Music Center. We have it's a multi-pronged organization, but one of the pieces is we have this thing called the Special Music School
Mm.
that is part of the organization. The Special Music School is a public-private partnership between the Department of Ed in New York City and
Mm.
Kaufman Music Center, where the Department of Ed, it's the only K through 12 public school in the nation where music is infused heavily into every child's day from kindergarten on.
Wow.
Um, Multiple private lessons, music theory, dance, you know, all these things.
Yeah.
And it just so happens
Mm.
that we have the best academic outcomes in the state.
Oh, and what a coincidence.
What a coincidence.
Incredible. Who would have guessed?
So we have a platform. So we're planning a massive marketing campaign.
Wow,
And
good.
we have a platform to say, um, look what's happening.
Hmm.
This is no accident. There's no data in the world to suggest that adding more music into a young child's life during the school day makes things worse.
Right.
If everybody did, fine, we're doing it on steroids. If everybody did 20% of what we're doing,
Yeah, you'd get
your
20% of
school,
those results. Yeah.
climate and culture, academic outcomes, we want to put it to the test, and we're gonna go on a massive marketing campaign.
Wow.
And we just want everybody else to, you know, kind of, and we want to lift up all schools. It's not like come to us. We can't fit everybody. If everybody was doing like this,
Right.
what would society be like? That's what we're preparing for, and as you can imagine, really excited about that.
That's so
That's
exciting.
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of maybe answered what we like to have lately as our kind of wrap up question is what would you say to people that would maybe surprise them most about your career?
I didn't study to do any of it.
Oh, I love it. What a great answer. Yeah.
I didn't study to do any of it. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I was a trombone player. I studied trombone.
Yeah.
And so it was, I got excited about things and I found out how to learn it.
Yeah.
And I would just say, you know, like I said 5 times, stay curious,
Hmm.
find people to be in your corner, to help you learn. Find mentors,
Yeah.
and it's all possible. And once you start learning this and that, you get excited about learning other things. And it's just, like we always say, just kind of filling your tool belt with all these different tools, and then life opens up to you. Life doesn't
Yeah. Yeah.
open up to you first all the time.
Right. Right. Right.
It opens up to you when you've started gathering, your tools. So whatever you're really curious about, go for it. Like, go learn it. Go
Right.
learn it to the nth degree, because we have so much information. And figure out what excites you and go for what excites you. I mean, that's what I got excited about. Some people,
Yeah.
it doesn't excite them all, but if you go for what excites you, you kind of can't go wrong.
Yeah. Well, I love it.
That's great.
Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you. This is really great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this was
appreciate it.
awesome.
Yeah.
You're like
Absolutely.
you really are like sort of the, not culmination, but you are what a lot of, I think what a lot of our listeners would listen to you and be like, oh shit, I can do whatever I want in music because, you don't need, people feel boxed in. I think sometimes music can feel like that.
Yeah.
Imposter syndrome, like all those things, but you just got to push through it and
That's
like
right.
do
I
what you
know, and
want.
I want to hire you as my executive coach now, Tony.
Yeah, same.
Well,
But I
yeah,
don't think I can afford you anymore.
man.
I also can't afford you anymore, but I
You,
will say this, Tony.
you can
I
call me
mean,
whenever you want. I mean, we
That's very
probably can't
kind.
talk for an hour, but we could talk for.
well,
But
you're our,
the other thing is this, like, the when you're out somewhere, let's say you go to a concert. I tell people, like, when you go to a concert, there's so much going on. Like, be curious about, like, how did everybody get on stage in the first place? What are
Yeah.
people doing backstage? Who pays to turn the lights on? How does all of this work? You
Yeah.
open up the program and look at the donor roll and be like, how is that going on there?
Yep.
And that's what I started to do. And it was like, okay. And on the smallest level, if you have a chamber group, well, you can incorporate into a nonprofit and go learn how to do all of these
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
If you don't learn how to do it, you are, again, don't be one dimensional.
That's right.
well,
Fantastic
Tony,
advice.
yeah, that is amazing advice.
Yeah. Thank
And,
you.
Well, thanks for having me.
Of
if you
course.
ever, if I ever decide to go another route and you need a person on your team,
Yeah, what route would
you,
that be?
I don't know.
Well,
I'm
you
not
never
sure,
know.
but we could talk more about that. I just think what you do is really cool, and I don't know.
Well, here's what I love is, look, a lot of the people who are on my team are, I mean, especially at Kinhaven, they're former students, right?
Mm.
And the beauty is when we teach, the kids we teach, right, are our future colleagues.
For
They're
sure.
not that far away. Middle school, they're a little far, but they're not that far. And when I was teaching at the college, right, I knew it's like, yes, there's teacher student, but you are my future and look, here you are.
Right
Yeah. Yeah.
here we
Yeah.
are.
So, and that is how life works. So,
Yeah.
Mhm.
you've, of course, Jackie, I'll always have you on the team.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't be sorry. I can get kids together for sure.
That's
I
right.
know you can. I know you can. I love
But
it.
we'll talk more
And I know
about that.
Marty's doing great stuff too. So congrats to both of
I
you.
Oh,
appreciate
Marty's
it. Yeah. Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you.
Definitely
Thank you.
success stories at Montclair. I love it.
Sure.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yes. Well,
Awesome. Well, you've been
we
so
appreciate
generous,
you
yeah,
coming
with your
so
time
much.
and you're sharing
Yes.
your wisdom with us. Thank you very much.
All
All
right, stay
right.
in
We'll
touch. I'll
see you
talk to y'all
soon. We'll
soon.
see you
Yeah, we'll
soon.
talk soon. Bye,
Yeah.
Tony.
Tony Mazzocchi.
Tony Mazzocchi,
Boom.
everyone.
Yeah, I love that he, just talked about how important it is to have a vision, grip it and rip it, make things happen, be a
Rip it and rip
self-starter,
it. I love that. Yeah,
be
be
a
a self-starter.
self-starter, figure
Don't,
it out.
yeah, figure it out. Don't make excuses.
Yeah.
There's a there's so much of that. And you
That's
know
good
what?
advice for the youngins and the oldins.
Yes, all involved, especially like teachers. We're all educators on some level. It's so,
Yeah.
but I feel like especially in public school, but I'm sure you see it too. Like even being a director of an ensemble, of a choir,
Yeah.
like people always find ways to not do
It's very true.
something. And it's like
Yes.
you can only say you can't until you actually can't.
Mm-hmm.
People don't wanna I see it every day. I feel like in public school especially, it's rampant.
Mm.
Like, oh well that no, that's not gonna happen. But it's never say never,
Yeah, that's right.
you know? So yeah, no,
Mm.
he was a great guest. Thank you, James, for the suggestion.
Thank you, James, for so much. Mostly
So
for lending us your lovely wife on Monday evenings.
And thank you to Eileen for
And
always
thank you to
lending
Eileen
us
for lending
Marty
her
and
lovely
for take
husband on Monday evening.
yes, and for taking care of the children while you do this.
Oh, they're long asleep. Thank
Oh, they're
goodness.
asleep?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they don't hear you.
Oh, I'm in a totally different part of the house.
Excuse me, big house. Oh my God, wait. Also, this is so random, but please tell us what we need to bring for Friendsgiving. I need to
Everyone, all Tangime listeners are invited to Friendsgiving,
yes,
the
we
day
should
after
wait.
Thanksgiving, that Friday.
Yes.
Come to my house
All the
and we'll hang
listeners.
out.
No,
Yeah.
what we should do is we should do a little like mini like a video or something for the
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, we'll
fans.
figure out
Like
something fun to do
it's
for
gonna,
that.
we'll find out like maybe we'll eat a turkey leg. We'll like see who can eat one faster.
Mmm. Mmm. I think so.
Well, this was really fun. Monday night extravaganza.
Always.
Um,
Happy Monday to you.
Happy Monday to
Happy,
you.
happy subsequent Tuesday.
Yep, we're almost there.
We're almost there.
I
We
have
are
to come
almost
up
there. We
with
need to
my
go to bed.
rehearsal plan tomorrow
Uh,
for tomorrow.
yes, you do.
Yeah.
Go do your score study and do your rehearsal plan. Thanks everybody
Yeah.
for listening.
Thanks,
And as always,
everyone.
we'll see you at the next one.
Tangerine.